Hi BookTube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am coming to you with my weekly reading update. This is for week number 20 and it is May the 14th through May the 20th. Happy Sunday, everybody. This video is coming to you a little bit later in the day than I normally would try to get a video out. Garrett and I were busy this morning. Tomorrow everything is closed here because it is the Victoria Day long weekend. It is the unofficial start of summer here in Canada. A lot of people were heading up north to cottages and things like that. Garrett and I, homebodies, were just kind of hanging around the house. But we are both off work tomorrow, so we had to get like groceries done and stuff like that today. Because of everything being closed tomorrow. So yeah, that's great. We had a good day. It is now is it almost 1 o'clock? Yeah, it's almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon as I'm filming this. So like I said, a bit later than normal, but that's fine. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the books that I finished this week. And I had a stellar reading week, you guys. I finished 5 books this week. Fantastic. And I'm going to share those with you. So as usual, timestamps in the description box below if you want to jump ahead to any of the book reviews that I'm going to talk about. And then I want to share with you what I'm currently reading or plan to start today, because not everything have I already started, but I do plan on starting another book today because why not? And I do have a small 13 book haul that I forgot about. So I'll talk about that when I get to it. Let's get into the books that I finished this week, you guys. So the first book that I finished this week was Temporary Wife Temptation by Jayci Lee. I gave this book 4 stars. This is the first book in the Heirs of Hansel series. And this of course is a Harlequin Desire novel. This was the last in that first Desire bundle that I was reading. And I like this one a lot. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars. So our 2 main characters are Natalie and Garrett. And funny enough, my husband's name is Garrett. So it is kind of weird. The rest of you who read romance, do you find it weird to have your spouse or significant other's name as one of the leads in the book? It's a little weird. But anyway, this was a good story. So essentially this was a marriage of convenience story. He is about to become the CEO of a major Chinese fashion house, and she is the head of HR. She is trying to adopt her deceased sister's little girl. Her sister and the sister's husband died in a car accident, and primary care went to the grandparents on the father's side because she's a single woman and doesn't, blah, blah, blah. So she is going to get into this arranged marriage of convenience to make it look like, give the illusion, if you will, that she's married and she's a family and can adopt the little girl. And he needs it because his grandmother, a very, very old-fashioned grandmother, Korean. She is forcing him into an arranged marriage, and he doesn't want that. So he's like, hey, I'm already engaged to this random woman that I have no idea who she is. So that's the basis of this story. I liked it a lot. I think this is the first book I read by this author, and I know this is the first in a 3-book series. They have re-released these very recently with brand new covers, so you wouldn't know that they were part of the Desire line originally, and personal preference, I don't like when they do that. It makes it feel like the author's embarrassed about the fact that, or the publisher doesn't want it known that, oh, this was published as a category romance, when it was good. I can understand re-releasing it, they're good books. I enjoyed it, but I don't know. There's just something about changing the covers around completely and things like that to not even acknowledge that fact anymore. But anyway, c'est la vie, it is. And you know what? I understand if it happens down the line, because it's happened a lot with Debbie Maycomer, Cheryl Woods. A lot of these authors, Jill Shalvis, who wrote for Category, their books are re-released with new covers, not showing the fact that they were once published as a category romance, but it's usually years and years and years later. This book came out in 2020, and I think it was just last year that they re-released them with new covers. So to me, it's a bit too soon. Anyway, I'm not in marketing. Clearly, they know more than I do. The next book that I finished, guys, this was my favorite book of the week. Lightning Strikes Twice by Elizabeth Hrib. This is the first book in the Hatchet Lake series. I do not see that there's been another book announced for this series. But oh my gosh, Harlequin, if you are listening, please, I want book 2. I want Sarah's story. Sarah's the friend of our main character, Kate, in this book, and Sarah's a hoot. She's a single mom of a young boy, but anyway, we're not talking about her. This is not her story. This is Kate's story. So this is a Harlequin super romance. It is a new release. It just came out in May of this year. And if you guys grew up watching the movie Twister like I did, and you love that movie, you will love this book. So this is about our main character named Kate, who is a she's a veterinarian, a large animal veterinarian, and what's his name? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Nathan. And Nathan, who is he's a hired ranch hand at her parents' ranch, but his primary focus is he is actually a photographer, and he goes after storms. He's a storm photographer, I guess. And anyway, they meet at the beginning of the book because her father ends up having a heart attack, and she rushes home, and she stays at home for a bit to try and help with the ranch and things like that, and meets Nathan. And it's this is a very, very, very slow burn. And I know, looking at reviews after the fact, that a lot of people did not love that. However, I thought it was great. The banter back and forth between Kate and Nathan, it was fantastic. I love the relationship that Kate had with her dad. There was a scene in this book that brought me to tears, that she's talking about being out, they're at the hospital still, and she kind of breaks him out of the hospital by taking him out in his wheelchair, and they're sitting outside, and she's got in her own thoughts, and she's thinking about, as she's looking at him, thinking, you were Superman to me. As a little girl, nothing could take you down. You were this all-powerful, you were my dad. You slayed monsters and, that kind of an attitude. And then to see your parent, to see him this is going to make me cry again if I think about it, but think about my own dad. And that's exactly how I used to think about my dad, was he was the most amazing, powerful. He slayed dragons. When I was the one sick in hospital, he was the one there who, him and my mom, of course, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? And watching your parent get sick is hard. And that really, I don't generally highlight portions of books, but that section I did because it brought me to tears, to be honest. So anyway, outside of that, this was such a good story, you guys. I really, really liked it. I really, really liked it. First time reading this author. She has a couple of other books published, but this is her first. I think this might be her first traditionally published book. And I believe she's local, relatively. She's in Southern Ontario, so that's very exciting. So she's a Canadian author as well, I believe. So anyway, loved this, you guys. Please, please, please give it a read. The next one that I finished was a middle grade book, and that was The Firefly Summer by Morgan Matson. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I did listen to this one on audio, and it was narrated by Mia Jennis. This book, you guys, was delightful. Absolutely delightful. So this is about a young girl by the name of Ryan, who is living with her dad. Her dad's a single father. Her mother passed away when she was 3. And her dad has since remarried to this woman, actually her pediatrician of all people. And just before the summer gets started, they get a letter from her mother's parents, who she does not have any memory of. They met when she was very, very young, and then after her mother's death, there was a falling out between her grandparents and her father, and as such, they've never spoken since. So they get this letter saying that they really want her to come out to this camp that they used to own, but it's now like a family summer resort kind of an idea. Not family summer resort like it's being rented out to other people, but it's for the family only. So this camp is now turned into like a family only kind of compound, if you will, where they all spend their summers. So, does she want to go? And she decides yeah, I want to go. So she heads out there because she wants to find out more about her mother. Her father only knows so much because her father didn't know her mother when she was younger. She wants to find out more about what she was like when she was her age, when she was 12. So she decides that the best people to ask are going to be her grandparents. So she arrives there and finds out not only is it her grandparents, but she's got aunts and uncles and cousins. And, so pretty much the book is the whole family interacting over the course of the summer. The camp is going to be torn down for reasons. I'm not going to get into that. So the kids enlist themselves in trying to solve the mystery to this deed that was supposed to be handwritten for the camp. And so it couldn't be bulldozed over essentially and condos built there. And that's pretty much the basis of the story, but I really like this one. I thought it was super, super cute. This is my second Morgan Matson. The first one I read was Save the Date, which was one of her YA books, which I also really enjoyed. So I have not been disappointed by her books, and now I want to read more. This is her first middle grade, but I do want to read more of her YA. So yeah, highly recommend this one. Perfect summer read if you're looking for one, you guys. This is a fairly new release, so maybe check your library, put it on hold. You will not be disappointed. The next one that I finished was another Harlequin special edition, and this is Fortune's Texas Surprise by Stella Bagwell. I gave this book 3 stars. This is book number 2 in the Fortunes of Texas Rambling Rose series. And just as a side note, if you can see the cover here, that gold sticker, this is the author's 100th book. I don't know if it's their 100th book of all time or their 100th category. I don't know. But 100 freaking books, however you slice it, is pretty freaking amazing. So this is the story of Stephanie and Acton. I've not read the first book in the series. Is anyone surprised? No. So the first book is actually about Stephanie's brother. So The Fortunes of Texas is this, I've talked about it before, is this long-running family saga that's been going on for the past 20 years with special edition books. And there's all these like little offshot series. So this is, and each little offshot series is about 6 books. So this is the second of this 6-book series, and it takes place in the small town of Rambling Rose, Texas. So Stephanie is a local veterinarian. She is a veterinarian's assistant, and Acton is a local rancher. And he's kind of a bit of a playboy. She is trying to adopt this little boy. She's fostering him right now. I guess in the first book, you kind of got this backstory of this woman who shows up in town, who ends up giving birth at the clinic, and then they think, okay, great, she had the baby, everything's fine, but then the baby gets dropped off at the pediatrician's office, and the woman takes off. So Stephanie has applied for, and gone through all the checks and everything like that before this happened to foster a child, so she takes on the baby, the little baby boy. So this story not only deals with the romance between her and Acton, but also with her in this potential chance of adopting this little boy and what happened to the mother. And I think that over the course of the 6 books is going to be like the mystery that's going to be revealed is what happened to the mother. So anyway, my biggest issue with this book was I didn't like Acton. So I don't want to get too spoilery. So essentially, well, it's not spoilery, but I don't want to go off on a tangent on this one. So Stephanie's 27 years old. Acton is 25. It's a 2-year age gap. Big freaking deal. But they act like they keep going on and on about this, about how young he is, as if he's 15. And that's gross. But like he's 19 to her 27. Do you know what I mean? He's 2 years younger. And the way he talks, he's very much that type of cowboy, the ones that I don't like. I like me a nice rugged cowboy, but this guy's like an shucks kind of a cowboy. And I'm just like, dude, no. No, it's not working for me. I'm sorry. And I found him to be very immature in a way. I mean, I don't know whether the author did that on purpose to make him seem younger, but this one, I didn't hate it. I like Stella Bagwell's work. I have read her before. She's generally not a disappointment to me, and this book was not necessarily disappointing, but so let me put it this way. It's not the type of cowboy romance I like, but clearly this works for a lot of people, right? This isn't my jam, but it's got to be somebody's. This was part of one of the bundles that I'm reading. I didn't dislike it. I didn't love it. It is what it is. And the last book that I finished this week that I'm sure a lot of you are wondering my thoughts on, Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I have written down 3 stars, but the more I've been thinking about this book since I finished it yesterday, the more I'm looking at a 2.5 star read. So this was narrated on audio brilliantly. I have to say, I love the narration on this by Brittany Presley and Ryan West. So yeah, Colleen Hoover is not the author for me. Full stop. That's pretty much really all. I don't want to go off on a tangent on this book because there's a lot of things in this book that I did not like. So essentially, maybe I will. You guys can jump ahead if you don't want to hear the spoilers. So my overall thoughts on this one. The plot of the story, for those of you who don't know, is about a woman named McKenna. Is it McKenna or Kenna? Kenna, who has just been released from prison for serving 5 years for aggravated manslaughter, something, I don't remember what it was, what exactly the term was. Essentially, in a way, not killing her boyfriend, but that gets into spoilers. So she just served 5 years in prison for somebody's death. Let's just put it that way. And she's out of prison and she returns back to the small town where she was living when the accident happened, and she went to jail because she's trying to find her daughter. So when she got to prison, she found out she was pregnant and she gave birth in jail. And then her daughter was given to the parents of the boyfriend who died. They got custody of the little girl, along with like all of her parental rights. So she lost all parental rights, which don't really agree with, but that's not the point. I do have to talk about this. So as soon as I'm done this little bit, I will get into what I did like about this book. So yeah. So anyway, she's back in town. There's a romance that happens between her and the boyfriend's best friend, and she's trying to get her daughter back and all these things. Colleen Hoover's not the author for me. So let me get into, as a romance reader, as an avid romance reader, what bothered me about this book. So if those of you do not want to hear any spoilers or don't really want to hear my opinion on this, that's perfectly fine. Please use the timestamps below and you guys can jump ahead to see what I'm currently reading. But the romance in this, I had a very hard time with. This guy, Ledger. So the story is, the premise of the book is the romance between Ledger and Kenna. In my opinion, you could have taken the romance completely out of the book and it would have been the same flippin' story, okay? The romance, he spends more than half the book hating her, except for when she first walks into his bar and all he wants to do is sleep with her because he thinks she's the hottest thing walking. And then when he finds out who she is, which again, a lot of stuff in this book was convenient, which really annoyed me. So like, it's just convenient that this is her dead boyfriend's best friend. Best friend. They grew up across the street from each other. So you're telling me in the 6 months that you were dating this girl, Scotty's the dead boyfriend, that Scotty and Kenna were dating in that 6 months, living in the same small freaking town, not once did they meet Ledger. Not once. I call BS, okay? Because he had no clue who she was when she walked into his bar. No, there was a pre-trial for Scott's death. You were not there? He was your best friend. You know, I'm sure her picture was in the paper. Again, I call BS that you didn't know who she was. Like, again, it was all very convenient. It's a very small town. They keep talking throughout the book how small of a town it is. So Kenna ends up getting a job at one point in the book at the local grocery store. And in another scene of the book, Ledger talks about the fact that, oh, now that Kenna's working there, maybe I'm going to have to go to the next big town over and go to Walmart. So clearly everyone shops in this small town. So the parents, like Scott's parents who have the little girl, complete side note, who names their kid DM? I'm sorry if your name out there is DM or you named your child DM. I apologize for this comment, but why would you do that? That essentially is Day. Like, I get the whole profound impact of it. Like, oh, I named my child DM because it's like Carpe Diem. Like, what is that? Sorry, give the kid a whatever. Anyway, so the parents have the little girl. So you're telling me in all the weeks that Kenna's working at that grocery store, never once did you have to go into that grocery store to pick up groceries and not see Kenna there? I did not agree with either Kenna or the parents. There were parts of the book that the parents were really starting to annoy me. They put a restraining order out against Kenna. All she wanted to do was see the little girl. You know, you can't, she's her mother. You know, like, this is her child and you are denying her. You don't have to tell the little girl who she is. Just let her see her. Just let her say hi to her. Don't be such evil people. Like, I understand you're hurting because of the death of your son, but come on. And then on the other hand, for Kenna, now we're getting into spoiler territory. And this is the whole reason I continued reading the book, was because I wanted to find out what happened. So essentially, big spoilers here, there was a car accident. Both her and Scott were drunk and high. And he was worse off than she was. So she was driving the car. There was a car accident. The car, they were in a convertible, flipped upside down. And she got out and was looking for Scott. And he was like half out of the car, She was checking for a pulse. She couldn't get one. She thought he was dead, and she went into shock, which is understandable to an extent. She knew enough to be able to leave and get herself home, but did not call the police. I don't disagree with the fact that she went to jail, because you left him to die. Now, it turns out she thought he was dead, but he lived for another 6 hours in that mangled car. The reason she couldn't get a pulse off of him was because his one arm was like severed in the accident. Okay, even if you thought he was dead, why didn't you call the police? I had no sympathy for Kenna. I had no sympathy for the parents. If the three of them had just freaking sat down and had a conversation, this could have all been avoided. She wasn't trying to take custody of the little girl. She just wanted to see her and potentially be some part of her life somehow. But they were like grasping onto everything they could of their dead son and how, and then the ending of the book. So we go through all of this where she's hated. She is like the devil incarnate to the parents. Like, again, they put a restraining order out against her. And then all of a sudden it's like they read one letter that she wrote and it's like, oh, well, I understand. I'm so sorry. I understand. All is forgiven. It's like Colleen Hoover was writing the book and she's like, what word count do I have to get to? All right, we're there. End the book. You know what I mean? Like, and again, the romance between Kenna and Ledger, I could have done without it. Again, he spends more than half the book hating her except when he thinks she's hot. So no, Colleen Hoover's not the author for me. 3 strikes and you're out. For those of you who enjoy her work, I'm not hating on it. I swear to you, I'm not hating on it. She has a fan base, clearly, and clearly I'm not in that camp. She doesn't need me. She's good. So anyway, sorry, big long rant on that, but you all knew that was coming, right? But you know what? At the end of the day, I am glad that I read it so I can kind of get the hype in a way. Like, I understand how to certain people this could be a decent, like there are other romance books out there, you guys. And I think the other thing is too, is that her books tend to be very heavy in the topics that are discussed. And not that I go through life with rose-colored glasses. That's not the case at all. But I prefer my romances to have a bit, like, this did have a happy ending, don't get me wrong. It was rushed, but it was happy. But I tend to prefer my romances to not be as dark and heavy as this was, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that book. Next up, what books am I currently reading, guys? So I am currently reading a Nancy Drew book called Sisters in Crime by Carolyn Keene. This, I think, is the 19th book in the Nancy Drew Case File series. This has taken me far too long to read. I was focusing on Reminders of Him, so I have not gotten to this one. I'd like to finish this one today. That's kind of my goal. I am going to be starting today the 10,000 Doors of January by Alexi E. Haro, I think is the author. I'm going to be starting this one, and I am very excited about it. So yeah, I have this one as well. And last but not least, one second, I need to double check the title. Okay, and the current pick that I have for the Harlequin bundle that I'm reading is A Chance for the Rancher by Brenda Harlan. So this is, I think, the 7th book in the Haven, Texas. Is it Haven, Texas series? I think. But so far I'm enjoying this one. It's another one about a single mother who's a veterinarian, and he's a rancher who's playing cowboy, as she says. You know, like, he just bought this ranch. He's actually like a businessman, and he's going to open a dude ranch, kind of an idea, and she thinks he's like... Anyway, it's so far I'm about 20 to 25% of the way through this one, and I am enjoying it. This is the second of the 3, so yay on this one. And yeah, so that is that for what I have read and what I am currently reading. Let's get into this little mini, not so mini book haul. The book haul I forgot about. So what happened here, in case you guys are curious, is that I had bought these books and I had them in a bag, and I put the bag over here so I wouldn't forget about them. And I bought them on a Sunday. It was a couple weeks ago. Well, I film these videos on Sundays, so I bought them after I'd filmed this video, like my weekly wrap-up video. And I like, oh, I'll talk about them the next week, and then promptly forgot about them. So here we are. So I was at the thrift store, and I found some used books, and I got 3 of the Kismet romances. Okay, so the other thing is too is that last weekend my husband and I were out and I found a whole bunch of these. Like somebody had donated like 20 or 30 of these to the bookstore, to the thrift store, and I debated on picking them up, but then I started thinking, I'm like, guys, I have some of these now. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but the thing is that I'm already collecting the Harlequin books. Do I really want to start another collection of like the Kismet books? You know what I mean? So what I might try and do is try and not hunt out, but if I see them by authors I'm familiar with, like a Jill Shalvis or something like that, then I will go ahead and pick them up. But yeah, anyway, sorry, as I rip off stickers as I'm talking to you guys. Oops, now it's stuck to my hand. So the first one we have here is A Man of Few Words by Thelma Ziekerbach. So yeah, again, Kismet romances, another type of category romance. This is number 153. These were published by Meteor Publishing Corporation. So yeah, so there's that one. And then this is like, so I gotta find out what the date is on these, because these covers are just, this one's 1993. This one, the cover, you guys. 1993 as well. By Denise Richards. Not that Denise Richards, another Denise Richards. Hannah's Hero. Like, yeah, hi. Magnum PI. I mean, some of these are just fun just because of the covers. So this is number 147. And then I got Homeward Bound by Catherine Atala, I think. And this is number 137. Let me guess, 92, 93, 1993 as well. So there we go. So those are the Kismet books that I got. Then I got an old Harlequin romance novel, Master of Comus, I believe, by Charlotte Lamb. Oh, look at that cover, you guys. Look, what's up with this? Like, it's not a historical, I don't think. This is number 2181. Cover price, 95 cents, my friends. 95 cents. Original hardcover edition published in 1978 by Mills & Boon Limited. Harlequin edition published in July of 1978. So that's cool. And Leonie felt that anything was better than his intention of disheartening her cousin Paul in her favor. For 20 years, her mother's Greek family had ignored Lonnie's existence. Then suddenly her ailing great-grandfather has expressed a wish to see her to make amends. All her life, she has secretly hero-worshipped her playboy cousin. Okay, this is creepy. Now that he is being offered to her as a husband. Paul's acceptance of the suggestion, however, came as a complete surprise. Is anyone else creeped out by that now? Please tell me they're not first cousins. I know this was the late 70s, but wow. Garbaugust, anyone? I think we have a potential winner for that. Next up, we have The Lawfully Unwed by Allison Lee. The thing is, now that I'm buying these, I'm like, I'm going to be reading these in the bundles at some point. This is from August of 2020, so I'll be getting to it the next few years, I'm sure. But this is a Harlequin romantic suspense, but it's one of the more, obviously from 2020 with these more recent recover designs. Is he getting too close to this damsel in distress? As long as she's not his first cousin. And then I got some older ones. I got a older Silhouette Intimate Moments, which are now the Harlequin Romantic Suspense line. We have The Fugitive Bride by Margaret Watson. So there's that one. Love it. And then some Blaze books. My husband actually pointed these ones out to me. He's like, hey, look at you, like these, right? And I'm like, oh, yes, I do. So they're both Christmas. Sorry, the sticker's sticking out, so I'm just trying to get rid of it while I can. A Blazing Little Christmas by Jackie D'Alessandro, Joanne Rock, and Kathleen O'Reilly. So these are, before the Dare line came out, these were the most erotic of the Harlequin books that you could get, if you couldn't tell that from the cover. And then we got another, I got 3 Blaze books. And then the other one's also a Christmas anthology. And this is Secret Santa by Janelle Dennison, Isabel Sharp, and Jennifer Labrock, I think. So yeah. This Christmas Santa is hot. Now don't you wish you'd been a good girl? It says on the back. I do like these. I mean, they're tiny little books and they're just little anthologies, which is super fun. So yay to those ones. And then I found, these are always fun to run across. I found one of the Blaze books that Jill Shalvis wrote in the original edition. So this is The Heat Is On by Jill Shalvis, part of the American Heroes series. This is number 558 from August of 2010. So yay. Oh, so just in case you're curious, this Blaze book is from December, I think, of 06, and it's $2.92. And then this one is from December of 07, and it's $3.63. And then the Intimate Moments book is number 920, and it's from April of 1999. So yay to those ones. And last but not least, I got another older romance, Harlequin romance book by the same, no, it's by a different author. But we have the Carradine brand, I think, by Margaret Way. This is number 3331, and this was published in October of 1994. Look at that great cover, you guys. Like, is that not fantastic? I'm going to try and focus it a little bit more. There's a cowboy romance right there. I should read this one next month for June on the Range. And I believe they do. Her books always take place in Australia, which is delightful. So The Rancher's Daughter and The Cattle King. So yeah, I love Margaret Way's dramatic writing, style, and her riveting plots, and her exquisite characters. That's from Diana Palmer. So yeah, I just love the cover of this one. I mean, she just looks like, isn't she adorable? I love that. I absolutely love that. So this one might have to be put aside to be read in June on the Range. So that'll be exciting. And then the other 3 books I got were from another bookstore that I had gone to. They are like a cash only bookstore, which is kind of interesting. And the first book I got is The Missing Guests of the Magic Grove Hotel by David Casseret. This is part of the Ethical Chang Me Detective Agency. I read the first book a couple of years ago. It actually says it's the second book in the series. Like, can more books do that, please? That would be delightful. This was an ex-library copy. But yeah, I believe these take place in China. I can't remember. I read the first one. It was might have even been like my first year of doing March Mystery Madness. So, yeah, Taiwan. Take place in Taiwan, I think. So yeah, I am excited to check out this one. These are gorgeous covers. Like, they're really great. It's a fun series. It's a really, I don't remember exactly what it's about, to be completely honest, but I do remember really enjoying that first one. And then I got a copy of the Oysterville Sewing Circle by Susan Wiggs. I just love these floppy trade paperbacks. So yeah, and this one is it's got some damage to the side because it's clearly been read, but I think I got that book, this one, and the next one for like $8. It's called The Friends of Something Used Bookstore, and it's absolutely delightful. So I found this one. They don't have category romance. That's the one thing I go in for. They don't have any, but they do have a lot of other stuff too. So yeah, I got this one. It's a fairly recent release from Susan Wiggs. And then I did find a Linda Castillo. I don't know which number this is in the Kate Burkholder series, but again, floppy trade paperback. I will get to it when I get to it, and that's Fallen. The next another book in the Kate Burkholder series. So yeah, so there's a little taggy right here. It says $4. So I mean, this looks like it's never even been read. Seriously. Also says International Edition, which is very interesting. But yeah, I like the cover on this one very much. So yeah. So there's my mini book haul, my friends. This video ended up being a little bit longer than anticipated, probably because I was ranting around about Colleen Hoover. But yeah, let me know, what did you guys read this week? Have you read any of the books that I've talked about? And what did you think about them? And what books did you read this week that you really enjoyed? And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.